So I guess we'll start. We'll start probably. This is where I trim up the YouTube video. We lose all that beginning exciting bit normally. But anyway, hello and welcome to Slooh's Online Telescope. In this webinar, we are going to discuss using our live telescope platform to teach and learn about astronomy in what we hope is a really engaging way with our standards aligned learning activities, which are called quests. And we're going to learn all about those throughout this 45 minutes. We'll try and keep it reasonably short today for everybody. We're also going to take a quick look at the live telescope feeds from the Canary Islands Observatory. We were doing that just now because I can never resist. Who am I? I'm Paul Cox. I'm Slooh's Chief Astronomical Officer, and I'm joined this evening by Slooh's Director of Curriculum, Dr. John Boisvert, and he's going to show us some of the new features and the Quest learning activities that he and his team have been working on following some extraordinary feedback that we've been gathering up from all of our educators and our teacher advisory board over the last year. But you know me, I can't resist. We're going to take a quick look at the live telescopes before I introduce John properly. So let's hop over. So I know that there are a few people probably watching in tonight who we've opened this up to absolutely everybody joining. Oh, there's loads of people. Hold on a second, John. I'm just going to promote everybody to panelists. You don't have to put your video on, but you can do if you like, and anybody can butt in with questions throughout. So I am promoting you to panelists. If you want to accept that, you don't need to though. So hold on one second. So I know we've got a lot of people coming in to Slooh absolutely cold. So I'm going to ask John in a little short while to give us a brief overview of that. But if you land on Slooh's website, the Online Telescopes website, this is where you land. And you can have a look up here if you're a family or if you're an individual interested in space and astronomy. Well, you can click the For Everyone. If you're an educator, you can go down to your grade level here and it gives you loads of information. But John's going to show us a little bit more of that a little bit later. But come on, let's hop over to the live telescope. By the way, when you log in, this is a page that you land on, which is called our dashboard. We might look at a few elements of that a little bit later, but this webinar is really going to be focused on our Quest learning activities while we've got John's time. But here we go. Oh, wow. So this is out. So if you are brand new to Slooh, this is the live telescope view that you can have every single night, your students can have every single night. And what are we looking at here? In fact, now would be a great time to introduce the astronomer on the team, Dr. John Boisvert. John, what are we looking at here? We're looking at the Canary 2 telescope. It's very windy up on the volcano tonight, but what are we looking at here? Because some people might not recognize what we're looking at.
Yes, thank you so much, Paul, and hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. Yes, what we've got right here is a comet. This is an icy body that's actually in the solar system right now, and it's moving with respect to these background stars and getting captured right in the Canary 2 Wide Field Telescope. It looks so awesome.
I don't know how good the screen share is here, John, but you know, this is where Michael Bellucci, Slooh's founder, often says you need to train the mind's eye. And you can look at this image and think, yeah, this is a black and white image. It's going to go into color in a second, but we've got all these white things, which are stars. Yep. But if you look closer, I can see galaxies in this, John. I don't know how good the screen share is, but if everybody looks over here, we've got all these white things, which are quite crisp. Oh, it's just going into color. But look, there's a fuzzy one here. And that's a background galaxy. There's another background galaxy here. There were a couple more over here. But here, this is what John was talking about here. This is the comet. So this is comet's nucleus here, the coma. And then we've got a tail coming over. This, John, might be one of our best comets coming up this year, really. We've already had one, but this is potentially a good one coming up.
It is. It's looking really great. And it's really cool to see all three of those types of objects all in the same field of view from vastly different domains.
Exactly. Solar system, Milky Way galaxy, and deep space, which is absolutely marvelous. I meant to snap a picture of that to show everybody how easy it was to capture an image But all you would have had to have done if you'd done it in time was click that little camera icon there, and you snap your own personal image of whatever the live view is showing. So anyway, let's have a quick look at the other telescopes, John, and then we're going to talk about, Ink Spot Nebula, Barnard 80. Never seen that one before. It's just a dark nebula. So all of Barnard's catalogue objects are dark nebulae. John, what's a dark nebulae when it's at home?
A dark nebulae is a cloud of gas and dust that's so thick that it's actually blocking out starlight behind it. So it almost looks like there's nothing there, but what's actually happening is the starlight is just being absorbed by that cloud. It's very reminiscent of the regular clouds that we see in the sky, but the clouds we see in the sky when they block the starlight are blocked by water molecules, but here these are dust that's in these clouds.
And here, John, we're looking at the Canary 3 telescope. We will get onto talking about education and how your students use all of this in a while when my excitement level goes down. I honestly haven't drunk that much coffee today. But John, this is another type of nebula. And I believe we've actually got two other types of nebulosity shown in this. So we've just seen a dark nebula, which is a dense cloud of dust and gas, which is blocking out the background stars. What are we looking at here in the Trifid Nebula?
This Trifid Nebula is really awesome because you can see two distinct colors. So the red color that you see in the bottom lobe, that's what's called an emission nebula. So what's happening is there's young stars that are emitting ultraviolet light, and that light is exciting the hydrogen atoms that are in the cloud, causing the cloud to emit its own light, to glow. Now, what's really cool is on the northern part, that northern lobe, it's more bluish in color.
Yeah.
It's a slightly different situation that's going on here. And here what's happening is light from the nebula and the new formed stars are reflecting off of dust grains that are in the cloud there. So that top part, you can almost think of it as being like the opposite of a dark nebula, where a dark nebula is absorbing light, but a reflection nebula is reflecting light. It's really awesome to see this.
So actually, if you could travel to the other side of a nebula like that, it may actually be a dark nebula. You never know.
That's right.
It doesn't really look that dense for that. But anyway, listen, there's my excitement over and done with. We have got some really poor conditions at the observatory tonight. So imaging conditions not great, but that's one of the things which you should excite your students about, because when they're capturing one of these images, there was a stream earlier of the Andromeda Galaxy, and there was a great big line going through it, and that line was a satellite. And a lot of people would think that would spoil the image, but it doesn't. It should add to it. It's their personal image that they've captured. But anyway, let's take a step back. John, for anybody here who is totally new to Slooh, what is Slooh's online telescope? And we've already seen there's more than one. What do we do here, and what can everybody look forward to actually doing here?
Yeah, so Slooh is an online astronomy platform that is designed to take students, educators, and their families onto a journey through space to learn about a myriad of topics, from science to mathematics, mythology, anthropology, history, and more. We have a number of curriculum-aligned quests that allow students to use the platform and our 10 telescopes that are located in premier observatory sites around the world. We have telescopes in the Canary Islands, which we're looking at tonight, and we also have telescopes in Chile. So this combined arsenal allows us to see everything in the entire night sky. So students have access to the entire universe that we could see to learn about awesome things about astronomy and science and physics and other STEM topics.
Thank you, John. We are going to talk now in more detail about how people can use Slooh in education, because this one we really want to keep focused, even though I've taken up the first 9 minutes looking at wonderful telescope views. We want to keep focused on some of the work that you've been doing with your team to develop those learning activities that we call quests. So what have you been working on with that team on what we internally have been calling Quest 2.0? And I think you said today in a meeting that you're on Friday starting Quest 2.1, but what is a quest learning activity? I'll let you share your screen now, John.
Okay. So if you're new to Slooh, so quests are, I think hope we can see my screen pop up. So quests, they are our learning activities that we have here on the Slooh platform. They are coherent, well-sequenced experiential learning activities that use Slooh's telescopes to capture images of celestial wonders while learning about specific aspects of astronomy, history, anthropology, arts, and other STEAM topics, which help keep students engaged and excited to learn. Now, before I talk about some of the Quest 2.0 stuff, I just want to show you what the output that your students are going to make in these quests. These are poster-sized infographics that showcases the images that students captured themselves with Slooh's online telescopes. When I say poster-size, I really mean poster-size. These are big enough to where you can take these to a professional plotter, print these out, hang them up in your classroom, or maybe have the students print out some of their own and make that into some sort of really cool contest or something. But this is what students make and while they're on the quest. And in some cases, these infographics actually end up incorporating responses that students provide within the quest itself. So for example, these are all paragraphs that students type and they're answering detailed questions about the star formation process for this one, for example. So these personalized infographics generate a spirit of accomplishment for the student because it provides an easy tool for them to recall the content they learn while on the quest. But there's a number of quests that allow students to explore their artistic expression by choosing which objects they want to capture and put into the posters. And again, putting their own words on the posters too gives them this spirit of accomplishment. And so,
John, we're looking to do far more of that, aren't we? As far as the personalization of students' posters are concerned, to give them a greater sense of ownership and creativity as well.
That's right. That's going to be a part of our next big quest push is making these posters having their words show up more on these posters. For this one that I happen to be on, they labeled their captures, but they're going to have more of their words showing up.
John, could you just flick back to the previous poster, if that doesn't muck you up too much? So that one on the left, during our intro, when we were just looking at those 3 live image streams and the telescopes of those 3 types of nebula, we've got a quest, haven't we, John, which actually we recommend to be one of the first quests that you set students. What does it teach them?
This one is called Nifty Nebulae, and this teaches them about the 4 types of nebulae that we have here on Slooh. There's actually a 5th kind, they're called supernova remnants, but the high schoolers get to learn about those, the middle schoolers. But we talked about dark nebulae tonight, and we also talked about emission nebulae and reflection nebulae. So students will be able to learn about that during this particular quest. Now, in fact, should I show you show us all what that quest looks like?
Oh, yes, please. That would be a great idea.
Awesome.
So you've been working Quest 2.0. I think I said at the beginning that we've had our teacher advisory board and a lot of our educators. We've reached out to them for feedback over the last, it's really 2 years, slightly longer than that, I think. But really the last year has been, concentrating a lot of that feedback. And that's what you've been working on with the revamp of these quests, isn't it, John?
That's right. Listening to feedback and suggestions from our teacher advisory board, our other educators that use Slooh, we were keeping our ears open so that we can improve the overall quality of the quest and the alignment to the quest to multidisciplinary standard curricula, so that when you're using these quests in your classroom, you're solving you're teaching the things that you're supposed to be teaching according to your district, but the kids are also having fun and being engaged with space and science as well. So
Nifty Nebulae, as the example quest, how has that changed when you take us through this quest? And it's important also to stress that the structure of quests are all very similar, aren't they? So you don't have to keep learning how to do each activity. They're structured in a very similar way.
That's right. They're structured in a very similar way. And I do have examples of various kinds of questions and assessments that your students will see within the quests. Now, I want to show you. So this is the way that the dashboard looks. And if your students are working on a quest, it's in this My Quest tab. If they've completed a quest, it's in this Completed Quest tab. But if you want to check out all of the quests that you have access to, that's where the Browse Quest is. And I'm just going to quickly go to the beginner category because Nifty Nebulae is a beginner quest. And I'm going to scroll down, and these are all of the beginner quests that we have. And what's really neat is once I get down to Nifty Nebula here, you can see that we have a preview of the poster that students are going to make. So that's really awesome.
So John, sorry to interrupt, but I think it's important to point out the images that we're seeing in that little preview are the images that you've captured, even being shown in that thumbnail. That's not some example. Those are the images that you've captured in your poster and in your thumbnail, aren't they?
That's right, they are. So these, yes, that's right. And they update live as well. So if your students start off and they don't have anything, then these are all blank. And as students complete, or as students capture their images and put them into the data collection slots, that image will update. It's really awesome. Now,
and here we are
with Nifty Nebulae, and we've done in this Quest 2.0, we've edited 27 quests with this in this process. So when you go into a step, the first thing that you'll see is you'll notice there's an astrolingo section, and this describes all of the vocabulary words that are going to be introduced within this step. So you don't necessarily have to read this, but this is a good spot where the vocab words are going to be, so that if there's any point a student needs to refresh themselves, they can always scroll up and see these astrolingos. And as I scroll through the quest a little bit, you'll notice that the text has changed a little bit. Some of the vocabulary words are bolded, and the first time that the definition for the vocabulary word shows up in the paragraph, it is italicized as well. Now, one of the big pushes that we've done in this Quest 2.0 process is we've done Lexile analysis on all of the quests. And so this is a way where educators can take the actual text itself and make sure that the text is written at proper levels for the students. And so all of, we have 5 of our high school quests are aligned to 11th to 12th grade reading levels. Most of the other high school quests, which are majority of them, are at 9th to 10th grade level, and our middle school quests are, of course, 6th to 8th grade level. Now, what we've been doing as well is we've been breaking up the text too. We've gotten feedback about how the quests are very wordy, and we want to kind of break up the text and assess learning at the point within the quest itself. So for example, right after they learn about emission nebulae, or excuse me, right after they learn about emission nebulae, there's basically right after every section, we have questions that specifically cover what the students learned in the previous section. And so we try and make it easier for the kids to stay on track so that they're learning everything that they need to learn.
This is quite a fine balancing act for us, and I'd be interested to hear the opinions a little bit later on from anybody who's here, because we've had these two lots of feedback. Some people saying too much text, we need more video content for our students to watch, but then we've had others saying, no, we need more text because we need analytical thinking, we need their comprehension skills and things like that to be tested. So it is a bit of a fine line, but you're addressing this in some ways, John, by you've already mentioned it, we've got these different grade levels of the same kind of quest, and that's going to change that kind of content mix as well, isn't it?
It is. And when we have these different grade levels, it makes it a little bit easier for the students at those various levels to get some of the concepts. We don't want to talk about quantum mechanics stuff in middle school, but maybe in high school we can talk about photons and things like that.
Roy's got a question. Roy's got a question for us, John. Sorry.
Yes.
Roy, carry on.
Hey guys, it's just about that point you just mentioned. And maybe I could suggest as an educator in class that maybe you will have some set of suggestions for educators, for teachers, maybe how to present the quest in the first place, or the topic, and maybe even follow-up topics, maybe even quantum mechanics for elementary school if they are interested and actually ask about it. So maybe kind of like a teacher's guide, an educator's guide for like a quest or a set of quests can really help direct the teachers in how to follow up after the quest. Thanks.
Thank you, Roy. That's quite pertinent, because John, that's part of the other element of Quest 2.0 that you've been working on, isn't it?
That's right. I was just about to say, Roy did not come with us beforehand to make sure that this question would fit perfect, but it really fits perfect in everything that we've done. So every quest, and you're going to start seeing these pop up by the end of next week. All of the 27 quests are going to have these on there. That's my goal, and I'm definitely going to meet it. So every quest is going to have 2 documents that are going to come with it, and this is called the teacher resources. And actually, Let me just click back to here real quick. I want to show you this is the quest overview page. We already saw this already. So coming next week, you'll see a little, if you have an educator account, coming next week, you will see a button down here that says download it teacher resources. And when you click on that, you will download a zip file that contains 2 PDF documents. The first document is a lesson plan. And this is a 1-page primer over the quest itself. So this gives basically the most important information at the top, the objectives that students are going to learn within the quest. These are the various standards that this quest aligns to, NGSS and Common Core State standards. Then there's information about the lesson, and then a timeline and agenda at the bottom. So this is a good, primer for the quest itself. But the quests are also going to have a quest guide. Now, these quest guides, this one, for example, is 6 pages long. You don't have to sit and read this page. Treat this as a reference material. So this includes 4 important pieces of information: what your students are going to create. So it'll give you an example of what a poster looks like for that quest. It will give you quest tips for success. So Roy, this would be something that you would be looking for. It also gives you the vocabulary word definitions for every word that's in the quest, and it also gives you the steps that the words came from.
This is great.
And then finally, we get the answers to all of the questions in the quest. So multiple choice, fill in the blank, even free response questions, even though, you're going to have to, as an educator, you're going to have to grade those ones on your own. But I give you some pointers of things on what we're looking for answers to those particular questions. And again, they're separated by the steps too. So these are some resources that I'm really excited for educators to get their hands on.
Yeah, I am too. We know Roy is a very experienced astronomer and astronomy teacher, science teacher, but these kind of resources are absolutely essential for those teachers who maybe, we've had a few recently, actually. I had a call yesterday with one teacher at a school who's been using Slooh for 2 years. And she said, the lovely thing about using Slooh is that I'm learning alongside my students, because I don't really know very much about astronomy. She knows a huge amount about other sciences, but not about astronomy. So she's learning alongside her students, which actually suddenly kind of makes that whole class come alive. I came away from that call feeling quite motivated myself. John, you've talked a little bit about standards aligned learning activities, the curricular standard. How can teachers easily view what quests we've got available and what standards they might conform to?
That's a great question. We have what's called an Airtable that's going to be showing up on the dashboard. If it's not already on the dashboard, I think it's going to be a link to this is going to be on there pretty soon. What this is this is the entire Slooh Quest curriculum. This is what's called an Airtable. It looks a lot like an Excel spreadsheet, and in a way, that's kind of what it is. Lots of rows, lots of columns, but every row is one of the quests. And as you can see, as I scroll from one side to the other, we have the NGSS science and engineering practices for the quests, the disciplinary core ideas that the quests align to, also cross-cutting concepts, and the performance expectations as well. These are NGSS performance expectations. and also the Common Core literacy standards that we align to, and also the Common Core math standards that we align to. What's really awesome about these Airtables is that you can actually you can pivot the table around different columns. And so if you wanted to just see, these are all of the performance expectations and the quests that align to them. So if you need to do your Earth and Space Science 1-1 for high school, well, we have 4 quests that align to that. And we have similar Airtables for Common Core literacy as well, and for the Common Core math as well.
John, this beats the old PDF document, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Slightly more useful, with a bit more utility in there. So that's going to be, people can find that. If you want to find that now, if you go to www.slooh.com and you scroll down to, I think it's the second panel, it's under the Students Learn to Explore Space Like Astronomers. So it's it's the middle one, John, the C curriculum alignment. I believe that opens up that Airtable.
Boom.
So
there
great.
it is.
So that's available to you even when you're not a member and not logged in. So, John, is there anything else that you want to talk about quests specifically, or shall we move on to learning progressions?
Oh gosh, we're at 26 minutes after the hour. I would like to show some of the different questions that we have.
Please do.
Awesome.
We've got plenty of time.
I want to just show some of the internal parts of some of the quests to show more on how some of the quests have changed, and we're being more rigorous with where a lot of our numbers are coming from as well. So this one is coming from the How Far quest, and so we're getting them. These are the most updated numbers, and these numbers I update before every school year, and
it is very difficult keeping up with stats and facts in astronomy, John. I mean, everything is changing with each observation, with each new telescope, like the James Webb Space Telescope. You know, our understanding and measurement of the universe around us is just becoming more and more precise, isn't it?
It is. And but you know, the thing of it is, that's what's so great about this platform, is because when you come to this platform, you can be confident that the stuff that you're going to see here is up to date, because, well, that's just the way that we do it here. So and so I just want to show you, so this is a new example of how some of the math questions are being rewritten to be very more rigorous, to say, you know, you're using this particular equation, being very clear on where to find the different values to put into the equations. And when the students actually put in the numbers themselves, the format that the numbers need to be in are clearly defined for them. Some other things I want to show you is we have some fill in the blanks that are even more kind of like the classic fill in the blanks, where the students have to choose the actual word that goes into the sentences to make the sentences correct. And we have a number of flavors of free response questions now. So this one is a more of a shorter free response question that students are asked to answer it in complete sentences, something that's new this time around. And what else is really awesome about the free response questions is when students type in their answers, once I click this edit work here, and I just start typing in some gibberish, you'll notice that there's a ticker on the corner now. And so this will inform the students of, you know, how close they are to reaching the end of the box, as there's going to be questions that actually inform them to fill out the box. Now I'm just copy pasting a bunch of text here just to show you that once students go past the allotted amount of characters, it actually shows that text is read. So students can edit.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was frustrating before when it wasn't showing that. It's these small things, it's these small usability things, and we're getting through as many of these as we can. We have, by the way, got an expert on the team as well now, who's helping us out with some of the usability, improve the usability, let's say.
Yes. And by rewriting these questions this way, it allows us to hit even more of those curricular standards, which is great. Where there used to be questions, which was a multiple choice that only had 2, a lot of times following that question is now a question that the students are asked to provide evidence for that answer. So, and then this one is more of like how an essay would look in a quest, where we have the culmination of, this is in There Goes the Sun, which is the culmination of a 3-part trilogy about the life cycle of stars with low mass and high mass stars. And in here, students have to write an essay that actually starts on one panel and actually ends on a different panel. So we're trying to, make these quests, check all of the boxes for everybody.
So that even within a quest, obviously we're trying to flow a student through on a journey through that particular topic, but we're also trying to take people on a journey among different quests. So we're joining some of these quests together now, John, into what we're calling learning progressions. And feel free to carry on on showing us some of the quests, because we have got plenty of time, so don't feel like we have to jump over the learning progressions, but you show us some more exciting quests then.
We always have our awesome, even though we're talking about all new questions, new things, new this, new that, we still have our really awesome features, like, for example, making animations. So you'll still see those in our quests and in quests to come, which are going to be awesome. And I'm also trying to write more questions that involve students using their infographics to answer questions. So if you do the How Far quest, you'll notice that after they get their poster, they're asked a number of questions that they actually need to use their infographic to answer the questions for. So it's even more solidifying their learning using these tools that they're learning, they're making on the quest, already using those tools to do things on the quest, but then they're going to use it to continually keep that knowledge in their brains.
And are we still planning on increasing the amount of monitoring that teachers can do with students' progress? And we're seeing here some of the multi-choice questions we saw in the past, because we were tracking it, whether or not some students were just kind of gaming the system and just clicking each option to see if it was correct. Are we still planning to report the number of attempts students made and things like that?
We are the classroom monitoring is something that I can show us now if we would like to. So I should start from the dashboard. So I do have, so if you click on the upper right in the little profile icon, you can click on My Workspaces, and that'll bring you all the way down to where your workspaces are. Now I have John's Astronomy Club, which is my my demo workspace for checking out all of the educator tools. And so hello everybody here in the webinar. And in these workspaces, if you don't already know, these are places where your students can come together, discuss various things that they're capturing in the telescopes, perhaps ask each other questions if they're encountering any difficulty within the quest. But what I really want to show you is if you click on members, this will show you where all of your students are within this particular workspace. And for every student, you can click on this eye, which allows you to view their individual progress. And so for this particular student here, this is my first demo account. They're working on 5 quests, and I can automatically see that they've started 5 quests. They haven't really completed any steps on the last 3, but they've done the first 2. A step in the first quest and 2 steps in Nifty Nebulae. And I can also see which quests that they've completed. Now, right to the left of the quest titles, you'll notice that there are these little icons, and this is the PDF reports for that student. So you can check students' progress not only once they've completed the quest, but you can check students' progress at any moment that they're working on the quest. So let me show you how that works. So if I click on Nifty Nebulae here, it's going to download their PDF report. And okay, awesome, it did open, perfect. So if you've looked at some of our PDF reports in the past, you'll notice some changes that we've made to them. So we report when the students started the quest, but also we reported when the students completed the quest. Or so actually, if the students completed the quest, since this quest is still in progress for this particular student, we actually get the current time right now, because that's the time that this report was generated. And as I scroll down in here, you'll notice that multiple choices are still giving the response that the students provided, whether or not it was incorrect or correct, but it says the number of attempts underneath now.
Oh, excellent.
So,
that's already included. I didn't even realize, John, that we had that already in place. So that's brilliant.
Yes. And so, if you see 3 attempts and 3 multiple choice questions, well, you think, they've probably gamed it.
And the plan, John, is that, we'll give kind of extra credit, extra gravity points, which are, the currency at Slooh, extra credit, extra gravity points if a student gets the question right first time, aren't we?
That's right. That's right. So it's going to be really great. And when so for this test account, I purposely didn't capture the emission nebula for step 2, but in step 3, I did capture a reflection nebula. So the students' images are going to show up in the PDF reports now too. It'll tell you the telescope that it was taken on. It'll tell you the mission date and time. So you'll be confident that students actually are, doing the tasks that they're supposed to be doing.
John, just to interrupt, John, Roy had asked a question earlier, or made a suggestion earlier in chat, talking about having a quest which talks about weather conditions, because as we've seen from the live views tonight, we've got some pretty windy weather, and having the students' images within the quest like this, we can see there that image has been affected by wind. So it's not the best quality image. So this is a good way. And in fact, if you look at some of the collection quests that I've written, we talk a lot about optimizing your mission. A mission is a 5 or 10 minute period of time when one student is controlling the telescope, everybody else can look at it. And we talk about getting the student to optimize. So if you want a reflection nebula, you don't choose a night when the full moon's out. And the quests talk about that. And you have to be looking, and your student will come back. If they didn't watch the mission live, they'll come in the morning, they'll see their images because they're all saved for them. And they'll see, oh no, this one was blown by the wind, or maybe it's got a satellite streak going through it, or maybe it was hazy. So there's a color hue going over the image. So this is a great way that a teacher can start reinforcing this as well, maybe with extra credit, that if a student captures a very good image, because 1, they've either been lucky, or 2, they have followed those instructions, how to optimize capturing data through these telescopes, that they gain extra credit. That, by the way, John, is a lovely image of the Horsehead Nebula using the Chile 2 telescope. I rather like that one. Anyway, carry on. Sorry, John.
It is great. Yes. So, and then also we've been getting rid of a lot of the white space too. So you'll notice that these reports are a little bit thinner than they were before. Now this particular one, I actually don't think we have a fill in the blank question, but with the text entries, what do you see? The students' responses will show up. I didn't put a response in here, unfortunately. But once the students' posters are finished, meaning that all of the data collection module slots are filled in, their poster will show up right here in that part.
John, we're talking about monitoring students' work, and this is going to be great and probably great for small classrooms. But one thing I'll throw into the hat here, which may be good for probably people in higher ed. We see a lot of our university users now, university and college users now, where the professor can't go into a system like this or even request, send me your PDF report, send me your Slooh quest. They just don't have time to do that. What some of those professors are doing is they're actually using Slooh's gravity points to assess their students. So they're setting a minimum number of gravity points that a student has to reach to pass the course. And of course, those gravity points can be acquired. They normally assign specific quests that the students have to do, but then the student has a choice of how they gather up the rest of those gravity points. And gravity points, John's sharing the dashboard there, and we have a bunch of levels based on the number of gravity points that you've earned, and every single activity that your student does on Slooh earns them gravity points, whether or not it's scheduling a mission to control the telescopes, whether or not it's completing a quest, whether or not it's sharing an observation, making a post to your workspace, other people liking their post or their observation that they've shared with the community. It all earns gravity points. So it shows a level of engagement, and alongside the quests, what we're seeing, or the feedback that we're getting, is normally quite a good reflection of what a student has learned as well, because our gravity points are weighted depending on what kind of activity it is. So as if there's an easy activity, so you can see here John's recent gravity activities earned only a single gravity point just for snapping an image, because it didn't take very much to do that, you know. But other activities like writing an observation, and especially when other members like or comment, reply to those observations, which are shared images, it shows that they're engaging the rest of the community, and shows that what they've written is probably of value. So they get more gravity points for doing things like that. Yeah, John's just scrolling down. So this is observations. So these are the observations that people have shared over the last week. So you've got the featured ones, which have got more than 10 likes, but we've also got the all observations as well, which shows them all, you know, before that, no matter how many likes they've got. So sorry, back over to you, John. I think that's an important one, because, you know, how on earth would anyone, you know, some of our university professors and college professors have got 170 people in their Astronomy 101 course. You know, we are also, though, looking, this is probably going to be for next year, but a way of aggregating those monitoring tools over the entire class. You know, so you might then land up being able to see the percentile of each student, you know, and how they've progressed in a quest, or their gravity points, or in a particular quest. So we're working on that. So feedback on that would be really useful to have from everybody as well. Back over to you, John. Don't forget, we've got to talk about learning progressions quite quickly, and we should also touch on assignments as well. So awesome. maybe you could touch on assignments now, because you've got two different options there. I can see a little assignments button at the top of the quest, but also on that A Jovian Day quest panel, I can see that there's an assign quest button. What are we now allowing teachers to do? And this is a very recent addition. I think only over the last 2 weeks we've launched this.
That's right. Yeah, it's a very, very new. And so this is a way for educators to assign individual quests to your students. So there's a couple of ways that you can do it, as Paul mentioned. There's the assign quest button that's just right here, that is underneath every single quest. So once you find one that you really like, you can go ahead and assign it. Or you can do is you can click on this golden button up here, which shows learning progressions, which we're going to talk about in a second. And it shows all of the quests. And so this is another way where, you know, if you have a list of 12 quests that you want to assign, you can then use this as a way to, you know, they're all in alphabetical order, so you can quickly find them and assign them to your students. Just one click, that's all you need to do to assign the quest. So make sure that, you know, you click on the ones that you want to assign.
Yeah, can I just add here, we are going to add a confirmation button on this, because at the moment, if you press that assign button, your students are assigned either the learning progression or the individual quest, and you can't go back on it. So we are going to add a little confirmation button on that. So please just be careful in the meantime. But once you have assigned a quest, John, the student, your students see it in the My Quest panel, which is what you showed us at the beginning, isn't it? So
that's right.
Educator assigns the quest, student then sees it coming up in here.
And My Quest is the default view. So your students will see the quest right when they log on to the dashboard. There'll be no ambiguity that this is the assignment that they need to work on.
Great. Can we go back to, go on, John, you carry on with your flow.
I was just going to go on to learning progressions now.
Yes, Roy, I'll just answer Roy's question quickly. Students can still independently start quests. So we should, John, talk about the different packages that we've got there, because the learning progressions, you were seeing 5 learning progressions there. Now that's on the packages where we're calling them all access packages. So John's test account here is an all access account. He has access to all of the learning progressions and all 60 plus quests, and when quests are added, they'll be added to it as well. If you buy, for example, a middle school science package, which is more designed for a short course, which is only going to be, less than a semester. We're seeing a lot of astronomy courses only being run for a couple of weeks. So you would just see the learning progression and the quest for the package that you've actually purchased for you and your students. So carry on, John.
Yeah.
So you've just filtered there on middle school science.
Yep, I was just kind of following along. So I hope that we've all seen how I did that. If you didn't, let me do it again. So if I get rid of the filtering up here, I click on filter, and this is a new way that you can filter through the quests. So just in general, you can look through all of the quests here, just look at the new ones, look at the quests depending on the particular category, and then also the seasonals. But the learning progressions these are curated sets of quests that are in a particular order that we suggest that you go through with your students. So when you click on the middle school one, for example, well, if you have access to the middle school one or the all access account, you will see just the middle school science quests in this learning progression. And so there's 6 of them. And so you can assign them to your students 2 ways. You can either assign them one by one, or by hitting on this assignment button up here, the golden button, you can just click on middle school science once, and it'll assign all 6 of those quests to your students. And so these middle school science quests and also the high school physics quests, these contain our quests that are very aligned to the NGSS curriculum, particularly for middle school. We're focused on the lunar phases and nebulae, how light interacts with things in the universe. And our high school track is more aligned with fusion, how the sun and stars generate light, the life cycles of stars. So they're a lot of fun. High school astronomy and college astronomy, they're similar to each other. They basically go through all of the essential topics that you would see in an astronomy course, and we put all of the quests actually in an order where your students can, you or your students can start at the top of the learning progression and just basically work your way down. And by the time you get down to the bottom of the learning, you'll start at a solar system explorer. And by the time you get to the last part of the learning progression, you're in deep space learning about the mystery of the island universes. So it's, so we've curated this for that track.
That's great. John, have you got anything else you'd like to cover before we go over to Q&A? Anybody can unmute if they like. They can add something in Q&A. We've got a couple of questions in there already. John, have you got anything else that you'd like to show everybody?
No, I think that's it. Excited to show more stuff.
I mean, we have really focused this evening on double cluster. Oh, look at that. Very nice. Double star cluster. Oh, like a dog with a squirrel every time I see a live Slooh telescope feed. Is that the Canary 3 telescope? It looks like the Canary 3 telescope. It is indeed. Look at that. In fact, we've got there's a celestial coordinate mission in Canary 2 as well. So if you have joined late, these are the live image streams from the telescopes. John, if all students can watch every single telescope stream, and they can snap a live image. Could you just snap an image of that and show us where it lands up?
Yes. So I want to snap a picture of this one, if that's okay. Now, what's really cool about, so all you need to do is just hit on this camera icon, and boom, you've snapped an image of what the telescope is looking at. And you can preview it by clicking on this here. And then here's the beautiful double cluster. I do want to mention that your students, when they snap images from the live telescopes like this, they can use these images in the quest. They don't have to go on image. They don't have to specifically go on missions to complete the quest. They can actually get their data from the live telescopes. So we encourage that.
And I've been talking to quite a few teachers recently and recommending to them that, I'm going to ask you in a second, John, I haven't warned you about this, I'm going to ask you in a second, instead of switching to my screen, if you can demonstrate setting up a mission to the Andromeda Galaxy. But what I've been suggesting to a lot of teachers recently is that they use Slooh to teach scientific collaboration. So quite often, a lot of these quests require images of different objects. And each student has an image quota, a mission quota of 5 missions that they can set up to particular targets. But what you can do is you can get your students working in small teams or as an entire class and have them set up the missions individually. And then each student can then join the other students' missions, which suddenly increases how many images and how many objects that they capture in a single night. So, John, I'm going to throw you in at the deep end, but this is really quite easy. 3-step process, please. I want you to set up, because you're doing Galaxy Morphology Quest, Hubble's. Oh, look at that! And that was not by design. So there is actually one scheduled here. So, John, you could snap an image. So this is...
It's just, I have to.
Yeah, exactly. So there's the Andromeda Galaxy in the Canary 3 telescope, the 2 little satellite galaxies you can see there as well. We won't hark on about that for now. But John's just been lucky there. He needed an image of the Andromeda Galaxy for his quest. But, John, let's assume that you weren't lucky, that you didn't see that live mission.
Yes.
How would you capture, as a student, your own image of the Andromeda Galaxy?
So once you navigate back over to the dashboard, there's you scroll down. So we start off on the quest part. We scroll down, we see observatories. Right underneath that is where the mission section is. We click on the mission setup button. This brings you to setting up a mission with the Slooh 1000. Now, it's really simple process. Step 1 is choosing a category. We know that we're doing our galaxy morphology quest, so we want to capture a spiral galaxy. Andromeda is a spiral galaxy. So when you click on spiral galaxies, the platform is looking at all of the spiral galaxies in the entire celestial sphere, and it's calculating which ones are visible across both observatories. And soon, in step 2, it's going to tell us which of those galaxies are available. So any galaxy that has a dark font are a galaxy that we can capture tonight, and the ones that are grayed out, unfortunately, we can't. But as you can see just from scrolling, there's a lot of dark text here. So Slooh's observatories can really see a large portion of the night sky every night. So we're going after the Andromeda Galaxy. It's the first one there. We click on that and then hit preview mission. Now this is the mission card for the particular mission that we're going to go on. So if we like this time, 1:30 UTC, Friday, September 16th, using the Canary 2, perfect. We just hit on schedule mission and boom, we're going on a mission to the Andromeda Galaxy. When this time rolls around, the Canary 2 telescope is going to slew on over to the Andromeda Galaxy. And if you're on the platform, you'll see it. You'll see the photons being captured live. If you're not on the platform, then those images will be delivered to your photo collection as soon as the mission completes.
Yeah, that's great. Now, John, I'm going to throw you in even further at the deep end. Could you please go each of the Slooh 1000? The Slooh 1000 is our curated list of the most interesting, some of the most beautiful objects in the night sky. I'd like you, please, John, to set up another mission, but through the Andromeda Galaxy guide page, because each of the Slooh 1000 objects has its guide page. So John was told in the quest, you need an image of the Andromeda Galaxy. John knew what kind of galaxy it was. He knew it was a spiral galaxy. But if your student doesn't know, they can go to the guide page. So John, hit the little magnifying button, type in Andromeda or whatever else you'd like to get to the Andromeda Galaxy in there, and we'll go over to the guide page.
This is my favorite way to schedule missions. So click on the magnifying glass, type in Andromeda. Well, if you type in Andromeda Galaxy, it would just,
only that. But this is a good way to sit as well, because you can see just everything that's got the word Andromeda in it. But okay, so hop over to the guide page.
And click on that little arrow, brings you on over to the guide page. And this is the overview for this object. So it's going to
I
give
sometimes have to refresh that page, John, for it to show up for some reason. There you go.
There we go. And so this gives you a lot of observational information about this object, a little teaser about what the Andromeda Galaxy is, some recent observations, some really awesome visibility graphs for the year.
Seasonal, yeah, that's the seasonal, visibility graphs, which is great.
But particularly what we want to show you is along the top, there's this tab that says missions. Click on the mission tab. This is where you have a little more flexibility with how your missions are going to go off on the telescopes. So at first you can choose a date up to a week in advance. And then, usually my window is a little wider. Well, no. Okay, so that's fine. So then you choose observatory. If you choose it by clicking on these buttons, all it's going to do is direct you down on this page somewhere. So Canary Islands Observatory comes first. And so here, this is information of when the Andromeda Galaxy is going to rise, when it's at its highest point in the sky, which is what transit means, and then when it's going to set. And then we get a nightly visibility graph. So this is where Andromeda is going to be tonight. And then this gray line is where the moon is. And so these are tools that students learn during the quest, particularly even during Paul's awesome collection quest, which I highly recommend. These are tools where students can figure out which times work for them. Now here, we've been given 3 mission cards for the Canary Observatory site. And you can see that we have a lot more information than we got from the Slooh 1000. Particularly, we have the weather forecast. This tells us, if it was rainy, well, maybe it probably would be time to check out the Chile Observatory, see if we can catch it down there, for example. But we got clear skies. And then let's check out the mission details. There's important information here as well. Object altitude, this describes how many degrees above the horizon the object is. Now, what's interesting with these values is the larger the value, the lesser amount of atmosphere that the light from the object you're looking at has to travel through. So you're not getting as many distortions. So when you're looking at something with the altitude rather low, it's kind of towards the horizon, you might get a little atmospheric effects. Other important things is it tells you a little bit about the moon. If the moon's above the horizon, then this is what we were talking about earlier with the dark nebulae. Might be a little hard to see the dark nebulae in a mission when the moon was above the horizon too, because it is kind of surprising, but the moon is actually quite bright and it washes things out in the sky. Last thing to show on these cards, there is a lot, is the telescope itself is shown as well. So these first 2 mission cards are with the Canary 2 Wide Field Telescope, but this third one is with the Canary 3. So these are things that you'll have to keep in mind, but they give you the flexibility to go on the mission that is going to be right for your particular needs.
Yeah. Sorry, John, we need to probably move on, but the big thing here is, if you remember, the first way that John set up a mission as a student was a 3-step process. The student didn't have any opportunity to choose the date, the time, or the telescope that it was going to use. Here, they've got a lot more flexibility to be able to choose this. And John, I wanted to butt in here because while you're on this screen, this goes some way to answering a question that Phillips asked us, because he said it looks like the snapped image doesn't, oh no, sorry, there was another one on here. Where's that gone? I've signed up. I know this is actually from John. So John's asked the question, I've signed up for a dozen missions. I've snapped pics while viewing live. My question is about photo quality. I've had several missions where the photo quality is not at all great. Do these come from poor seeing conditions at the site at the time, or due to some other circumstances? Well, part of the answer to that, John, is making sure that, or checking the conditions at the observatory at the time if you're watching the live mission. So we've seen tonight, the wind's been blowing, but there's a cracking mission for the Comet on Canary 2 at the moment, which looks absolutely beautiful. But if your students were going to schedule their own mission, then looking at that information about what's the weather forecast, what's the moon like, are they picking Or is the automatic system picking a mission time when the object's really low? So, you know, your students, this is part of the training of astronomy, and some of our collection quests talk about this. Pick a time when the object's high in the sky. And don't forget that chart that John showed above is showing them when the object is highest in the sky, and also how close the moon is to it as well, and how high the moon is. So those are both factors. But the other thing, John, is do make sure you check the observatory mission, status report each morning. So when you, is Chile online at the moment, John? I don't think it is. So we might be able to, if you can go over to one of the Chile telescope pages, just using the dome icon. Yeah, go over to one of those. Right, so in the morning, when the telescope's gone offline, you come to this page, you scroll down to the observatory information panel, and there's a status report there. So you click on that status report in the morning, and this tells you what the conditions were like. So we've got slightly hazy, wind was low. It tells us as well some notes, anything that may have affected image quality. So tonight, you know, we've got very high winds in the Canary Islands, which is affecting, you know, every other mission probably. So this status report tomorrow morning will tell us actually it was so windy that Canary 1 couldn't come online at all, and some of the missions from the other telescopes were affected by winds. But there's never a single answer or a single cause to, you know, whether or not an image is good or not. You've mentioned seeing conditions in your question. Seeing conditions, for people who don't know, is the stability of the atmosphere above the telescope. So that air that John was talking about, that the light is having to travel through. The Canary Islands Observatory is 8,000 feet altitude, 2,000 meters above sea level. It's in the Atlantic Ocean, so it has a very smooth laminar airflow coming over the observatory. It's why the largest optical telescope in the world is based there, because the seeing conditions are on average far, far better than anywhere else, but we get bad nights. So go over here, John, have a look at this. If you've got any specific image, which you've got a strange anomaly on, I snapped one earlier actually, but if you have any specific image that you're concerned about, or, you know, there's an artifact on it that you're uncertain of, email it to support, or you can email it to paul@slooh.com, and I'll check it out and I'll let you know, what the cause is, because it certainly helps. And we're thinking of doing a guide on this. In fact, it could be a quest, John, to show different imaging artifacts and list their causes. There is a problem at the moment with the Canary 2 telescope. It's got some strange smudges on it. I'm going over there in a couple of weeks' time to switch the CCD camera over. While I'm there as well, I'm also going to look at the Canary 4 telescope mount, which seems to have a tracking issue at the moment. So hopefully I'll be fixing that as well. So sometimes it can be technical. Other times it's weather conditions. Other times it's just unlucky. Other times it's lucky. I particularly like images and missions when a satellite whizzes through. We have actually caught the International Space Station whizzing through one of the images. We've got Saturn coming up there as well. A couple of other questions here. We've got, right, there was one. So Philip, this was your question. It looks like the snapped image does not show the scale and orientation overlay. So what we're looking at there in the live view that John's showing us is that we're talking about this outline around the edge, which is showing what's called the image scale. So this is in arc minutes. So this is how much, how many degrees and arc minutes and arc seconds this particular telescope can capture in a single image. So it's showing the image scale. It's also showing a little orientation thing there. All of Slooh's telescopes are orientated in exactly the same way. So Philip, you'll always know that all Slooh images are north up and east is to the left. So that's the same for all of them. Now, Roy suggested that if you've got some of your students are old enough, then it's a great exercise to go through to actually calculate the image scale. So this is the arc minutes per pixel, arc seconds per pixel. And you can actually find all of that information in the telescope guides. John, could you hop over and just show us the telescope guide for Chile 2, please?
Absolutely. If you hit on the magnifying glass, you can see that both observatories are here. Just click on this plus, and here's
Can
Chile
you do
2.
the Chile 2? Yeah.
Absolutely, Chile
Thank you
2.
very much. So
Sorry about
loads
that.
of nerdy information here. If you're like me, I won't talk for John, but if you're like me, there is the telescope that your students are controlling. But this has got, you know, the specification. If you're looking at this, I normally try and show one of these during these programs. So that had all of the specifications for the CCD camera. Look at the size of this. This is exactly the same model of CCD camera, which is on the back of the Chile 2 telescope. This is what I'm taking over actually to replace on the Canary 2. You see it's all cooling and stuff like this. It's got all of the information about this particular camera, the particular telescope, and the combination of the two and how they combine into how much sky it can see, the image scale and stuff like that. Because we had an interesting, I had a teacher ask an interesting question the other day, can they measure parallax? So this would be probably a higher ed or high school activity. Can they measure parallax? So this is as the Earth is orbiting the sun, you know, we see the position of stars, especially nearby stars, apparently move in relation to the other stars. And I did a little exercise the other day where I replicated this with a very close star called Proxima Centauri, and we could see sub-arc second movement in that star. Now that wasn't about parallax, but it was a good proxy for parallax. So I said that to John, and we are, I think, going to try and do a parallax quest, which will keep your students busy probably for a 6-month period, because that's when the difference in parallax is at its greatest, when Earth has moved from one side of the sun to the other. So any other questions?
Yep.
So what have we got here? So that let me just up at the top. Weather orientated quest, great suggestion there, Roy. You know, we do go into some of the observing conditions, as I say, in some of the collection quests, especially the seasonal collection quests, which you've also asked about. Is there an autumn spring? The autumn spring is almost ready to have the button pressed, the publish button pressed on it. I did most of the work last year on it, but I've got a couple more things to add to that. So that's going to be a great one as well, because there are some terrific objects both in the northern and southern hemisphere at this time of year. Just hopping down, we've already said that students can still independently start quests, and this is also the discussion I've been having with a lot of educators on calls just this week, that with the new smaller packages where you can buy 6 middle school quests, or a dozen high school quests, and these smaller learning progressions, if you're running a shorter course, what we are finding is even during shorter quests, and don't forget the licenses that you buy for your students last a year. So a lot of educators find that they have a few students that just run with the platform. They just take to astronomy. They've just got an innate interest in it. They want to suck everything up that they can. They quickly finish the quests that you've assigned them. Then what to do? So it is a slightly higher cost, but the all access, to have access to all 60 quests, opens up such a degree of flexibility. It also means that although John has curated these learning progressions, very, very tightly to curriculum requirements and the feedback that we've had, having access to all of the quests means that you can tailor the quests that you assign across all 60 for the course that you're designing for your particular student. So I've answered that one.
I just want to mention one more thing too, yes, about that. And you'll notice when you check out the Airtable that not only are the 27 quests that I revamped, or that my team has revamped, have curricular codes aligned to them, but all of the quests have curricular codes aligned to them. So even ones that aren't on the high school astronomy, for example, they might even have some high school curricular codes aligned to them. So you probably want to check out that Airtable to see all of the quests, to see if that's an option that'll fit your needs.
Yeah. Roy made one suggestion about refreshing that mission page. Roy, if you can imagine what the system's having to do there, it's actually every time you go to that guide page and the mission tab, it's actually earmarking and temporarily blocking out those mission slots that it's offering you in the schedule. And if we didn't do that, somebody else could take one of those missions and then everything would get horribly mixed up. If you could imagine, it wouldn't take very many people refreshing one of those mission pages for the schedule suddenly to get rather full up rather quickly. So I hope that answers that question. But if I think it only keeps it for 5 minutes, something like that. So if you haven't picked one of those, so if you then did refresh the page, it would probably offer different times and different telescopes. So John, why didn't you email me some of the images that you were talking about? Yeah. Okay. So there's the smudges. Okay, so we can see that. John, can you hop over to the, it's just gone, the Canary 2 telescope. We might see it on the next image. This is a problem that we've currently got with the camera on the Canary 2 telescope. So these smudges that you're seeing is the cooler. These things have a CCD chip, which is absolutely enormous inside them. They're in a nitrogen-filled chamber, and that's because the CCD chip is cooled to minus 40 to 50 degrees centigrade, incredibly cold. So there can't be any air inside it. What we think has happened is there's a leak in the camera, in the CCD chamber, which has allowed air to get inside. So the smudges that you're seeing on some Canary 2 mission images are frost on the actual CCD. Wow. So what I would recommend is capture some of those images quickly because they're going to be absolutely unique. When I get to the observatory and I replace the camera, you will no longer have the opportunity to capture ice over the Andromeda Galaxy. So I hope that one's answered. But John, do send me any images that you'd like me to specifically take a look at. Just hopping through. Yep, proper motion. Roy suggesting proper motion as well. And this is great because actually that, Roy, is what I was looking at with Proxima Centauri. So I was really surprised. So Proxima Centauri's proper rate of motion is something like 3.6 arc seconds per year. So I was kind of using that. So the star basically is moving across the background stars, the more distant background stars that appear static. So I turned that into a little animation. First of all, I did it 6 months apart and you could see it easily. But then I wanted to see, well, can I see 1 arc second of movement, which turned out to be around a 3-month interval. I took 2 images, just the PNG images, not the FITS data, and I could easily see the movement visually of Proxima Centauri moving 1 arc second across the sky. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of, in fact, John, we've got a few quests not going to appear over the next couple of months, but we have got some more science-based quests coming up where students are making scientific measurements from their images, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Yes, we're planning on doing that with capturing asteroids and comets, but we're also talking about doing other fun things to calculate things. I don't know how much I can talk about, but
no, we can use the two words, the metry words.
Okay, yeah. So it's astrometry quests that are coming down the pipeline, and also photometry quests. So those are going to be a lot of fun for students to kind of look at their images a little bit differently and learn some more things.
Exactly. Roy had to leave because it's about 1 a.m. there, and he's got school to do in the morning. But he will be a little unhappy that he missed that. Shall we tell him? Because he'd be fascinated by having some scientific quests. So maybe we'll drop him a line and let him know, or get him to watch this little recorded segment. Hey, listen, are there any other questions from anybody here? We've got quite a few people still watching on the event page. Quite a few people still here. So I don't know if anybody has got any final questions for us before it's the end of a long day for just about all of us. So any questions, anybody? Feel free to unmute if you wish. do a countdown. Let's do a countdown, John, of looking through the telescope feed. So we've got Canary 2, lovely open star cluster M25, Messier 25. That's one of the Messier objects, 110 objects. We've got a fabulous collection quest. Got a school starting their course. They do a 1 month astro course, and they start that in March, but actually they're bringing all of their students in next week to Slooh, and they're setting them off. And one of the recommendations I've made to them is assign the Messier collection quest, because that is an absolutely brilliant one to do. Right, here's this comet again, but interestingly, this is showing the smudges that John was talking about here. So we can just see there's a kind of long smudgy right, that's it then, John. So it's the ice. Do keep an eye open in the Astronomers Anonymous workspace. John, don't know if you can just hop over to the Astronomers Anonymous workspace for us. So as well as individual classes having their own private workspace, there are also public workspaces as well. And I've actually posted here. Oh, we got another member who's reached Hubble level. Woo!
That's awesome.
Nice one, Ronald. But there's a post further down on here which talks about this issue and the fact that I'll be going over to the observatory. Here we go, to sort out this problem. So it's always good, worthwhile keeping an eye on that as well. So any other questions, folks? We'll have a quick look. So one last look at that comet, and let's see whether or not the wind is still blowing the Canary 3 telescope. Yeah, the Canary 3 telescope and the Canary 4 telescopes being blown around quite a bit at the moment. So unfortunately, they're not up to muster. But anyway, listen, we haven't got any other questions. Thank you so much. If you do have questions for John or I, you can file them through to me, so John's inbox doesn't get full. But email me, paul@slooh.com, or you can go to support.slooh.com and you can submit a support ticket, and that will get through to us as well. Or you can email education@slooh.com. But seeing that you've turned up here, you can have my personal email address, paul@slooh.com. There you go, well, my business one. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Please, John and anybody, if you ever have, strange things happening in the system, please feed it back to us, because as you've seen tonight with John's work over the last year, we try and be as reactive as we can to all of the feedback that we receive. We're a small team, so we are stretched, and we do have to do a little bit of prioritization, but hopefully you can see the fruits of John's work over the last year, because it really has been a terrific exercise. And I congratulate you on that, John. And as I say, you're starting Quest 2.1 on Friday. And then we also had a meeting earlier when we were even talking about Quest 3.0. So your work will never stop. We need to build your team up. John, any final words for anybody thinking of piling over and bringing their students onto Slooh's online telescope platform?
Now is the time to do it. This is the perfect time to get any and all students interested in astronomy. But it's also astronomy is a gateway to all of the other sciences. So this is the perfect spot for you to be in. I am so excited for your students to go through this. This is actually something that I wish that I had when I was their age. Oh my gosh.
I wish.
So, thank you so much for showing up today. Thank you so much for listening to this too, if you're listening to this in the future. And we're really excited to see you and your students join this community and be a part of this awesome platform. Thank you so much.
That's a bit mind-blowing, John. You've just talked to people in the future. That's amazing. I don't think I've ever been in a room where anybody's talked to people in the future. So I congratulate you on that. There should be special gravity points awarded to your account tomorrow. Anyway, as John said, thank you so much, everybody, for attending the webinar and watching the webinar, and to all of you future people out there. John and I might not even be around. You never know when you're watching this. But anyway, do please check out more of the platform. Go to www.slooh.com for far more information than we've given you generally about the platform tonight. Tonight's really been about those learning activities, the quests, and I hope you've enjoyed some of the live views as well. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Bye for now.